So Matt's wife, Hannah, we all love Hannah, but apparently she was 1 second away from leaving your marriage.
She was, and it was all because we were at the cast party for the Tanger show Chicago.
Yes.
That was in town last night. We got the honor of going. Tremendous show.
Opening night of Chicago.
And so we went out for a couple drinks afterwards, a couple hors d'oeuvres, and the cast comes through.
Mm-hmm.
And the actor who played the lawyer, Billy Flynn.
Billy Flynn, yeah.
He stopped by the table. His name's Jeff Brooks. Very personable.
Uh-huh.
And we were asking him about some of his previous Broadway work. You know, how long have you been doing this? He's been on Broadway for over 20 years.
Which is crazy
Really?
because
Yes.
they all look so young.
Yes.
You
Even
know?
standing there when he said that, I'm like, oh, so you started when you were 6. Got it.
Were you a baby in a play?
Yes. Did you play Simba in The Lion King? Got it. and so we were just talking to him, and he was telling us some of the other plays he's been a part of, and some of them I hadn't heard of before, but there was one play that he said he was in that really got my wife's attention, and he was in Beauty and the Beast. Now, Beauty and the Beast is my wife's favorite movie of all time.
Mm-hmm.
We're big Disney folks. Belle is her favorite princess. So she looks at at Jeff and says, oh, who did you play it? 'Cause she kind of like leaned up and scooted over a little closer to the chair. I was sitting at one seat. Jeff, the actor, was next to me, and on the other side of me was Hannah. So I was in between this conversation. And she goes, oh, who were you in Beauty and the Beast?
As she scoots closer and
Yes.
starts to peacock a little bit.
He looks at her, winks, and says, you know who I was. She was like, and I'm going, what was that?
And
What was
hello,
this
I'm
wink?
here.
I'm
Wait a
sorry.
minute. Yeah.
He played Gaston, the heartthrob stud that every female in Beauty and the Beast fawns after. This muscular, beefy dude. The only one that doesn't want him in that movie is Belle.
Yep. Yep.
She goes, oh, Gaston. And that's all he had to say was, you know who it was, and wink. And she goes, Gaston. I was like, what's happening? Where am I? I'm sorry. I'm still sitting here.
Yeah, but you no longer exist, though.
No. So I'm trying now to escalate this thing to wrap it up. Like, Jeff, don't you have people to go meet? Don't you have food or drinks to get? Like, can we move this along? So he goes, so then he found out, you know, what we do for a living. We're on the radio. And he goes, oh, that's awesome. Are you going to talk about it? And I was like, well, now I am.
Thank you.
And he said, well, make sure to tag me. So when I got home last night from the drinks, I made my post about going to the show and how great it was. And in commenting, I said, also really great to meet. And I was looking for Jeff Brooks. And I'm like, I can't find him on Instagram. It's weird because he never told us what his handle was sitting at the table.
Yeah.
He just, oh, tag me, I'm on Instagram. I was like, so I'm looking for it. And from the other room, I hear Hannah go, it's Beth Road Brooks. I'm like, it's what? I'm sorry? She's already spelling out his Instagram handle. She's already looked it up to see all the other stuff that this guy's been in. She knows exactly the handle to do this. So I'm like, okay, fine. Now I'll tag him. So I tag him, and he comments back. And so I'm going to, like, rub it in her face. Like, and she goes, ooh, did he? What'd he say? And I'm like, calm down.
Did he ask about me?
Calm down.
Calm down.
So needless to say, I wrapped up that conversation about Jeff Brooks after that.
Yes.
But it was instantaneous. I just felt her just, you were in Beauty and the Beast.
It's little things like that. And then she probably dreamed about him all night long, Matt.
Why was
probably.
she mad at you? Oh, so she wasn't mad at you. She just was trying to go home with him.
Right. It had absolutely nothing to do with me. It had to do with the fact that that was as close to a hall pass, I think, as you could ever get for her to be with somebody who was probably from her favorite movie of all time.
And she didn't even know that opportunity was going to present itself.
No.
It just happened. And in that moment, you could have granted her biggest wish, but you didn't.
I was not.
You were selfish.
Because in that moment, I was very confused as to what was happening. Because there was I didn't feel that same level of interest when he first approached the table. We were talking about how he's been in Chicago. So this touring group just got done with a set of shows in South Korea.
Which is so crazy.
Wow.
So when they're in South Korea, they're doing the show in English?
My understanding is yes, because I saw, thanks to my wife showing me some clips on this man's Instagram, of them performing in South Korea, and they were singing in English.
Yeah, that's fascinating to
So,
me.
so they just got done with South Korea, and he's talking to us, and we are their last stop before they stop touring. So this is the last chance anywhere right now. You know, maybe a couple years down the road, Chicago will get back together and tour again, but this is their last set before they all take a break.
And they're celebrating, they're celebrating 25 years of Razzle and Dazzle.
Yeah.
And it's such an iconic show that I really tried hard not to compare it to the movie because Broadway started it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just, I don't know. I found it to be, it was mesmerizing to me.
Yeah,
The whole show.
Yes, and it was very sexy.
Yeah.
See, that's my next point.
Uh-huh.
You get all up in arms about how your wife almost left you for this guy who plays Gaston, when all night long for the entire show, you men were treated to women who were clad in basically nothing.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a
that
big
was-
difference.
Prancing around.
There is a big difference. One, Matt's never going to have a chance with a hall pass with any of them.
Never. And I can tell you, based on some of those women that did come up and talk to us at the table, there was none of that. There was no wink. You know who I was. There was none of that.
Yeah.
None of it.
They didn't say, "Oh, my dream is always to be with a radio DJ."
Yeah. Oh my goodness. No, none of that.
Oh, well,
No.
when I just have to say that when we sat down and the show began, the very first woman who came out onto the stage, immediately my self-esteem, which is already at an all-time low, went even further down into the ground.
Oh, yeah.
She was the hottest woman I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
She was a walking Victoria's Secret model.
Wearing basically what Victoria's Secret models would wear.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think looked better than they do.
Yeah.
I don't know her name, but I'm going to find out because
It's
now
in your-
she's my
the-
hall
the
pass.
The brochure, you can see all the photos.
I'm
Just
not sure what the name of her
you can-
character was, but
I personally fell in love with Michelle Atatardo.
is she the one that just said not guilty?
She's the one that killed her husband with a shotgun because he was popping his gum too loud.
Oh,
That's she was my fave. And
Okay.
Michelle, if you're out there listening, and
That was during the cell block
if
tango.
you got some downtime, you want to get acquainted with Greensboro,
Hang out with your boy.
Shoot that shot, Squid.
Shoot it, man. Tag her.
Yeah, Michelle's
Find her on
beautiful.
socials.
You can see if they're, and then you can look it up to see if she's single or not, Swid, too. Sometimes if you follow the social media stuff.
Just don't mention bringing Jeff and my wife.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
At the cast party, so when I had the opportunity to go to New York with the Tanger folks to see some of the shows in the upcoming season, and we were talking about how this season is called Simply the Best. And in my opinion, based on the shows that were coming and the ones I saw in New York, Moulin Rouge, 6, this season should be called Simply the Sexiest.
Absolutely.
Because it's
Absolutely.
burlesque, it's this. And last night I saw Jenny, who is one of our good friends that works with the
Do
Tanger
you
Center.
mean Niall?
Niall,
Hey, Niall.
yes.
Hey, Niall.
And she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't see you, Niall. I didn't see you over there." And I was like, "It's okay. I'm getting ready to leave." And she said, "What'd you think of the show?" I said, "I thought it was tremendous." And she said, "What did Jason think of the show?"
Oh.
And I was like,
Why is she asking you that?
You're the horniest one on the show.
Because she
Thank you,
knows.
Squid. I'll take that.
She
Don't
listens.
forget I
She
had a
knows.
wand, too. So
That helps.
You are the horniest one on the show.
Because
Yes.
she was telling the other people that she was with, like when we went, Matt said this season should be called Simply the Sexiest
It
because of shows
should.
like Chicago. And she said, "So did Jason like it? Did it deliver for him?" And I said, "He was a big fan." I said, "He told me to keep an eye out for the blonde at the cast party."
Oh.
And she thought that was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. And she goes, "Well, I'm sure we can find it." I was like, "I mean, if you got any autographs sitting around, I think the office would appreciate it."
I told Matt's like, you go into the cast party after. I'm like, Matt, I don't want to get there and be attacked by
Too
these.
many.
There's too many.
Yeah,
So I
sure.
said, say hi to everybody.
Yes. At one point during the show, it was so sexy and so risque, and then God, they're just so talented. On top of it all, I actually turned around because my husband Ben and I were sitting in front of where Jason and Squid were sitting. I turned around to try to make eye contact with you, Jason, because I thought, he has got to be drooling right now. Drooling.
Well, the only problem is I wasn't drooling as much because I already felt a little awkward because my date was Tripper.
Nah, agree.
And Tripper looks like Ken from Barbie.
Yeah.
And literally,
So you took a blonde.
right. I go with the blonde. And when I'm walking into the Tanger Center to begin with, Tripper has that Ken look.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, is he part of the show? And people are looking at him. And I mean, we look gay as hell. And that's fine. That's fine. But I didn't want people to think, oh, did he turn gay? I didn't, I don't know. I didn't care about the show. Then I see like the head of the entire Matt Brown. I walk by. He was going to shake his hand. I'm like, nah, I don't even want to explain this. Nope. So I just walked by him and didn't do anything. And walked right in there and sat down as quickly as I could in the darkness.
It was nice that you brought Tripper as your date.
Yeah, I thought so too.
It's very nice.
I don't want to do that again.
Well, because I think Ben, my husband Ben, said something to Matt and Hannah while they were sitting there. He's like, "Yeah, Jason really is into blondes, isn't he?" Can't help himself.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm like Squid could have brought him. That's okay.
Yes, Squid.
I was jealous as hell.
Yes.
And I did feel a little bit of that. You're talking about the insecure, like when some of the dances were happening and some of the women were up there doing that. My wife normally doesn't do this at shows, but she put her arm around, held my hand, trying to make sure I'm still here. I'm still here, which is something I should have done. She meant Gaston.
No, that's a sign of a little jealousy.
I know.
To me.
Yes.
I'm gonna try to capitalize on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I felt that way. I definitely did a couple times because Ben was sitting to my right and then the stage was a little bit to the left. And I, a couple times, would just look my eyes over to see where his eyes were because I know where mine were. The entire time I know exactly where my eyes were.
That's not fair, Katie. You can't do that to him.
I just was looking. I didn't say anything. I was just seeing. But it was like the whole time I thought, is this going into his bank? You know what I mean? Like, is this probably going to go into the bank?
Reel,
Possibly.
Probably.
Yeah. You never know.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I really get it.
And I really felt like I might have some of that buildup of the gel or whatever until the cast party when she met Jeff.
Yeah.
And then all of that went away. And I was like, I should have been the one doing this now.
Yeah.
It just caught me off guard.
Well, if you are interested in seeing Chicago, and you should, celebrating 25 years, the show is at Tanger for the next week, the next 4 days now, next 4 days. Opening night was last night, and it's just amazing. I'm so glad that season 3 is here. And you're right, it should be called Simply the Sexiest.
Simply the Sexiest. And remember, this is the last tour that Chicago's doing before they're done.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
this is your last chance to see them touring anywhere for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Megan Campbell who I fell in love with.
Do you want the playbook?
Yeah, well, I found
I'm
her
seeing
website.
his computer screen bounce around to the different
Yeah, it has all the
women in the show.
Instagram handles, and now I'm like, which one did I fall in love with?
Which one was it?
I guess I just gotta meet both of them.
Well, you can go see the show again and then see.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? And maybe Hannah will be there checking out Gaston / Billy Flynn.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Just ask her. She'll talk to Billy for you.
That was my biggest regret, was not going to the cast party, because I was the same thing. I was like, I need to get to sleep.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, damn it. You know what?
Well, I will tell you, with some of the sexiness of the shows that are coming, go to those.
Word.
Well, and we were just talking about 6. 6 is definitely very sexy, definitely very girl power. Very girl power. And as a matter of fact, our friend Jenny said, hey, are you bringing your daughter Nora? And I thought, I hadn't thought about it because she's 8, and she's like, yeah, it's totally girl power. And if there's any sort of, adult humor, that part will go over her head, but she should see, the story. And I thought, well, that's a good idea. I did, and I don't know maybe if we should say this, but I felt a little bit awkward because Jared, who's not here today, he's not feeling well. He started to not feel well last night, but he brought his son with him.
Oh, yeah.
And his son is younger.
He was the youngest person in the entire place.
I think so.
And I was not sitting anywhere near them, but I felt awkward for Jared to be sitting next to his son, who is taking in all of the near nakedness.
Yeah. I was sitting to the right of Jared, and his son was to the left. And every time, something promiscuous would come over, I just put my knuckles out for Eli. It's like, that's my boy.
What you think?
Welcome. This is what manhood's all about.
Well, there were a couple really risque jokes in there too.
Religious,
and
there was a religion one.
Religious jokes in there, which because it's intended for an adult audience,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that Jared's son is mature enough to handle it. It was the secondhand awkwardness that I was experiencing for him. I'm glad I wasn't in that situation.
That's my favorite part.